Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon, so be sure to text us, ready to buy, to 323-405-1341. That's 323-405-1341. We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal buyer's protection guarantee.
How you, King?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yes, sir. Great to see you, brother.
Great to see you.
Now, to be clear, I know you used to run with Supreme and all that. You were a member of the Supreme team? Yes?
Actually, I was a member of Fat Cat's team. But we're all family.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, let's get into that, because I definitely met you and thought you were someone that ran with Supreme. Even though, yeah, I guess they all ran together at some point, right?
We did run together. Kyle is like a godson to me, his son.
Right.
So that's the reason that he told me to come up there with him. That's my godson.
Right, just to make sure it was all good, and you see, we laid it out, and you know what I mean? Everything was gravy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about your life. You came up in Queens? You from Southside Jamaica, Queens?
I'm from Southside Jamaica, Queens. I actually was born in Haiti, and right before high school, we moved to New York. Well, first we lived in Boston, then we moved to New York right before high school, and been Southside ever since.
So tell me about that. What years was this, like, when you moved to Southside? Late 70s, early 80s?
Late 70s. Late 70s, like 78, 79, I believe.
And New York City at that time was the New York City that we see like in movies, and New York was wow, like the Bronx was burnt down. It was mad abandoned buildings, heroin, and you know what I mean, dust and all that was crazy on the street.
The heroin and dust was crazy. It was before the crack.
Before the crack, it was heroin.
It was the heroin
and dust.
And
really,
dust.
Heroin was crazy. But the dust started going crazy too.
We used to. I used to sell scramble when I first came out. I mean, I was in school, played basketball, got A's. But the New York City fast life was a little faster than Boston, a lot faster than Boston, and I got kind of caught up into the mix. My idols became a different type of people. It wasn't the sports figures anymore. It became the street people.
Who were your idols at that time? Like, who was the dudes that y'all looked up to on the streets? Like the Supremes and the Fat Cats, the ones that came before y'all. Who was y'all looking up to?
I would say like Ronnie Bump, Pop Freeman, the Mob. You know, I was into the Mob. Like every single Mob movie that they had, it was like I would just sit down and just be a student of that history and that tape and try to model my life after them.
If you're just joining us, we're with former Supreme team member. Well, actually, he ran with Fat Cat. He's former Southside Jamaica Queens Kingpin. Is that?
I wouldn't say I was a kingpin.
I mean, you was getting bread from what I hear.
I was getting a lot of bread there.
Okay,
yeah.
so
but
I mean,
it's I mean, but I look at it. It depends on your terminology of kingpin. Kingpin to me is like
runs the whole shit.
I'm not runs the wrong shit, but it's like
it runs the whole shit. I said.
Yeah, he runs. I mean, I heard what you said. I mean, I'm just trying to put my thoughts into words to bring it out to the audience. So, I would say, yeah, the kingpin runs the whole shit, but you know, everyone gets a lot of money, but it's a separate thing between the kingpin and everyone else that's getting money. He's getting money, you know, like Fritz was a kingpin, Cat was a kingpin,
Peace Heck 9, Flat Power.
Preem was a kingpin, you know what I'm saying, in his time. Nicky Barnes was a kingpin. Frank Lucas was a kingpin. In my eyesight, in my thought pattern, these were some of the kingpins. You know, Ronnie Bump, like I said, as far as like black, that's what I'm looking up to.
Right. Well, I had heard, I guess, a rumor or a story about how much money you might have been making. Making a month. And to me, that sounded like a very high number. Where to me, it sounded like kingpin status. You know what I mean? But it was like $1 million a month, I heard. Is that right?
I would say maybe 300.
Okay.
So that's way off from
what the kingpins is getting, but that's still a hell of a lot. I mean,
like I've been around Cat and counted $1 million for his profit within a week. At times.
A week.
Like we had the spot that we had on the block. It might be me, him, his niece. We might have had our stuff our drugs upstairs. Maybe $500,000 bagged up. That's like a day and a half, 2 days. That's how that block used to move. I mean, it was just a different type of climate.
Now, I just want y'all to understand, we're not telling these stories to try to glorify that world or anything like that. We're just bringing clarity to a past story and all that, because it's going to end up somewhere. The ultimate place that this story is going to end up is very far from drug dealing and all of that. So that's why he's even here. If all the brother had to offer was just stories about, being around drug dealers and dealing drugs, that's not really the type of value that we have here at this channel. But at the same time, I was young and impressionable at that time, and I was, I actually had some dudes that moved from Southside Jamaica, Queens to New Rochelle, where I grew up at, you know what I mean? And also my enlightener was from Hollis, Queens, who moved to New Rochelle. So I had this Queens connection, and these dudes was always talking about Supreme Team and Cat and fucking, the rumor of the bulletproof baseball hats. Now, did I ask you about that?
Yes, you did.
That
is a fact. That's not.
That is a fact. There were bulletproof baseball hats. Talk to me about that. Because Mr. Cheeks made it famous in the line "Bulletproof Baseball Hats" in one of his songs, the Jeeps, the Benzes. But on the streets, that was like a big they got bulletproof baseball hats and all that.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at it the way it should be looked at, I mean, how much protection could the bulletproof baseball hat give us? But I mean,
in your mind, you thought it was some fly shit that maybe was going to help you.
You got the bulletproof jacket on along with the bulletproof vest. Like they had a store that had bulletproof gear. People was bulletproof in their cars. So I mean, that was the climate. I can remember. I think one time I was out on a violation, and I used to ride around on my bike. Bulletproof vest, playing basketball with a bulletproof vest on. That was just the climate back then. Crazy climate, because when you think about it now, I wouldn't even deal with anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So the climate is basically we're damn near out of our minds. The drugs is not helping because that's keeping us out of my mind. Because who would be daring enough to do things like that? It really doesn't make any sense. When I look at it now.
Right.
But back then, when you're in the moment, like, this is it. This is what it's about.
Right. So if you're running with Fat Cat and all of that back then you're also around people like Pappy Mason.
Of course, yes. Yes.
Tell me about dudes like him, because he seemed ultimately he's the one. It seems like his actions are what triggered bringing down that whole thing that was going on in really in New York. Like, that shit reverberated through the whole New York.
Once not only New York, the whole country.
Right. Once they killed that police officer.
Yeah. Pappy Mason was he's the type of person, he's not taking no shorts, no bullshit. He may ask you one question. Like, I would say, like, he's not even going to ask questions. He's just going to get to it. But he may ask you one question, but if it don't come out right, he's just going to get to it. He's not going to ask you two questions. I put it to he was from Alabama also, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yes. Originally, he studied under the Rastafarian. He did 7 years out of a 3.5 to 7. So he did all 7. That's the type of person. I mean,
that's before he was even out on the street, like doing
that was before him and Cat was in Spofford together. And that's where they met. So Cat was a war counselor for the 7 Crowns. Pap was a warrior, so they got along. So I was in jail when Pap first came around. So when I came out, Pap was working security at the game room. That's how he started. Then as time went on, Cat gave him a piece of the projects, because we had a base house on like 110 and 160 and 40 projects. And my man Jug had the spot first, and I think Jug had to break out. He started going down to Baltimore and other places to hustle, and he gave that to Pap. Pap took it from there.
So when Pap fucked around and ordered that murder on that police officer, how did that affect you directly?
It caused me to fall back from the group. I was locked up when it happened. I can remember being in the day room, seeing it on the news, everybody turning around, looking at me, because, they're talking about Jamaica. I had a gut feeling. I made a phone call to Cat's sister at the time, and, she was like, whatever, these crazy motherfuckers, and other situations, like, I just kind of like, okay, you know what? It's getting kind of crazy. Let me fall back. And I fell back. So I didn't call the house no more. And that's why I'm not in that indictment that they caught in jail, because I stopped calling the house and stopped telling my people, like, to even go around there, because I seen that future coming. Like, it's one thing for us to make money and have a good time, and it's one thing for you to kill non-tax-paying citizens. You kill non-tax-paying citizens, it's not a problem. When you start messing with law enforcement and taxpayers, it becomes a problem, especially law enforcement. The heat is coming. A heat that didn't need to happen. I mean, and that happened after the parole officer. So first it was the parole officer. So I'm like, still like, and then that was just, enough is enough. Like, I don't need that much in my life. I like to make money. I don't like to have beefs. I'm not the kind of person that's going to, like, if you argue with me, I'm not the type of person that's going to go toe to toe with you arguing. Either I'm going to feel that I'm type of in danger and I'm going to react, or I'm just going to dismiss you and not pay you no attention. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of person I am. I don't like confrontations. If it's a confrontation, I have to end it quick. Me, personally. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not Like the argument, I'm not going to do the argument. Like the tit for tat and how people do online and all that.
Right.
I'm not doing all that. I'm just going to sit back, and if it's really that much of an issue, if we see each other and it's and you're acting a funny way, then I'm gonna react. I'm not even gonna be the first one. I'm just going to sense what your body language is telling me and what the universe is telling me. You know what I'm saying? Because I come in peace wherever I come. I like money. I like to make money. That's what I like to do. The other stuff, I just stop with all that.